Welcome to our event and greetings from Frankfurt. Today still a rainy Frankfurt, but hopefully this improves as well. Well, we are going to talk today about the right focus when starting a new venture. What does it mean starting a new venture? Well, it can mean two things. It can mean founding a company, or it can also mean introducing a new product or service by an established company. And I think that the challenges for both situations, even the situations are a bit different, will have a lot in common, and hopefully the key lessons learned will be applicable to both worlds, to the corporate as well as to the startup world. Stefania already introduced me, so there is not much need on this. I'm happy to reconnect with each and every one of you on LinkedIn, and of course have a talk and chat afterwards. Let's see what we are going to see and speak today. First, from my side, as a monologue, as a talk, but then also, of course, in the breakout rooms. I would first like to point out some typical pitfalls, some typical early stage shortcomings for companies trying to develop their product with some examples. Then we have two stages typical at a very early stage of venture. This is the product development stage, where we start a company with an idea, with a technical innovation, with something around a concept, but not yet a ready-made, finished and approved product. We typically don't have sales at this stage, so it is a challenge to estimate what product to sell. At the following stage, the product rollout, we already start the first sales and still may face a lot of challenges in terms of what to do first. I mean, we have to produce, we have to deliver, we have to do the inner organization, we have to grow. It's not so easy and brings a lot of challenges with it, but it's strongly connected yet to the first product development stage. And then we split to breakout rooms and discuss our experiences with the topic mentioned. Well, I would like to invite you now to go to Mentimeter and say, what do you think, what should be the right focus in an early stage business? It doesn't necessarily depends on whether you have founded a company or not. It can be your expectation, what would you focus, or even in a corporate, in a larger company, what would be the right thing to focus while developing a new product or a new service. Well, they could be developments of this service. It could be writing down a thorough full business plan, I have heard. It could be some financial aspects, financing, financial backup of the intended project. What is your opinion? Stefania, I don't know if you have the result. Maybe we could switch the screens and show us the result of the Mentimeter voting.
Yeah, for some reason it's quite slow. So you can start voting. I will share the screen. Yeah, but at the moment you can just start voting following the menti.com and the code 27242564. And as soon as I have it, I will share the screen.
Good, then maybe we continue a little bit so that we don't lose so much time. I mean, here I collected some typical examples on what people tend to focus on. Well, many people go for a business plan to thoroughly plan their activity, their venture, to cover all the aspects. We know the business plan is really a thick document. It's a sort of a small thesis covering the topic of the venture. Several other people tend to focus on branding, on homepage, on logo, setting up their identity to enter the market with a strong brand focus. Other people like to think of fundraising. They have an idea, they think this idea is worth really a lot, and they immediately start to search for investors to back this idea up and to concentrate on development of a product. Which brings us also to the lower part. Many people tends to focus on the product development or MVP development, on R&D, because the product needs to be still perfect, or already think how to produce it. Yeah, and then of course at the last moment also how to sell it, to generate sales from the beginning or to set up a team. These are topics from my consultancy or mentoring activities, which I see that this would be the answer of the mentees or of the clients. This is how they spend the day, let's say like this. If we already have the result of the mentee meter, this would be, I think, a good time to share it.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. I'm actually trying to log in, but there is kind of technical problem with the login.
Okay, then no Mentimeter. We simply continue.
You know what? We can also, so we don't spend so much time. We can share it before entering to the breakout room, so it's also like a ice-breaking question.
Sure, it was just meant to, out of curiosity, what is the idea, and of course to make it a bit more interactive, not just me talking. Well, in my experience, or in my according to my opinion, and we are free to discuss this at the end of our event, there are two typical possible failures in early stage ventures. One is the very product-centered focus, means that people want to develop the perfect product in order to go to the market with the perfect product. I heard comparisons to some, well, let's not name the big software company, which is providing us all with operating systems, which at least in the past were a kind of we had the impression that they are user tested and not tested in the company. So we don't want to do this experience. We want to provide the perfect product. We know what's the perfect product. We will develop it now. Another approach, which also may lead to difficulties, is kind of the macroeconomic point of view. Entrepreneurs identify a problem. That problem is really there from the macroeconomic point of view. They assign to this problem with a value. It is not so difficult to identify the size of a market if we have a problem identified. And then, of course, by simply calculating 1 to 3% of this huge market, people are perfectly safe and think to be perfectly safe and very happy with their assessment of product, of development, of service development based on these numbers. Well, the problem is that both approaches, either the product focus or the problem focus on the macroscopic level, are ignoring the customer, and it may lead to failures. Well, we can see how it led to failures even with huge companies, which definitely could afford all kinds of intelligence or testing or doing whatever. I have prepared some examples. We all know Segway. It's a cool toy. However, it was not meant as a toy for tourists entertainment in city sightseeing, but it was meant from Dean Kamen as a revolution of the mobility sector. It should have substituted us in cities, in urban areas. It should have substituted cars, and instead, the end of the story is, instead of selling 10,000 machines a week, how the revolution was announced, they sold 24,000 in 5 years. The next example is Google Glass. It is, of course, a cool technology. It's a wearable. It was one of the first wearables. However, the prototype introduced into the market was introduced only to experts, only to journalists. They were not very keen of this product. They really tore it apart. And then Google stopped selling in 2015 this device. So it had only a lifetime of 3 years. Here, the key lesson was, well, you test your product, of course, but also do it in a little bit private way, not that publicly way. We have 3 more examples, just to be fast. In somewhere in the 50s, there was an extremely huge car, Ford Edsel, which simply flopped on all levels because Ford was really making this car for itself, for the company. Their car was too huge even for the Americans, too impractical, with too many variants, was not for the customer. It was the company liked the product, its product, and not the customer. And the next 2 products are a little bit funny. There was actually really a Crystal Pepsi, which is a Pepsi just with a color of sparkling water. You guess it didn't go well. And finally, let's sum up the lip balm with the statement that not every popular flavor can be successfully turned into a lip balm. This does not make sense. We have also an example of a company doing their homework, maybe by chance, maybe by strategy, but that's a focus which really worked. Yeah, it's Vans sneakers, also one of my favorite brand. I just recently learned about the history of their business model development in an article featuring Paul van Doren, who unfortunately died.
No, it's okay. We can. I'm just. This is just.
Yeah.
You can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, who just died in the recent days. The company was founded in the year 1966 with not much of a focus, just of selling high quality, inexpensive sneakers. They very fast teamed up with the skateboarder universe and started to focus their product for skateboarders. They made a special sole helping the skateboarders to get to have a better control of their board. They actually allowed skateboarders or all their clients to buy only one replacement shoe, which is kind of really cool. I have never heard of any other shoe brand allowing me to substitute one of the shoes. Why? Because of the strongly asymmetric use for skateboarders. They also introduced some high top collar to protect the ankles, and ultimately, already 4 years after establishing the brand, they included the customers into the product design, and of course became the ultimate brand for skateboarders. This is a very nice example of how to successfully introduce products into a market. brands is now, I mean, after several sales, etc., is now a really global brand for sneakers in general. Let's go to the first stage of the product development. We have an idea, we want to start. Well, we saw from the examples previously that what is probably likely to make us fail is that that the market will not want our product. So no market need for a technical innovation for our product is the reason number one to fail. With a startup, with a young venture, this means death, yeah, with the examples before of large companies and Crystal, Pepsi, etc. Of course, the companies are still there, but it was quite costly to them. They can possibly survive this type of failures. A young company will not do it. I collected two statistical sources. One is CB Insights, second is an agency, advertising agency, collecting this data, as well as accompanied by two quotes. In particular, the second quote is really interesting. Colors invented an racing wheel for iPad. You can Google it, looks really cool. But literally no one wanted to buy it. There was no market for it. So what to do? How to get our venture on a solid ground, and how to proceed with our startup we want to found around our idea of service or a product. Well, one strategy would be to turn the business idea into a hypothesis and reformulate our business model and try to prove or disprove it. Why we would like to do it? Well, the first idea, the first target is to fail fast in terms of checking the possible product on the market. We will come to the topics of how to do it later. We can prove or disprove the strategy of our product, and we do not lose time and money to build company, brand, to write business plans, all the things I summed up before with what typically founders are looking at. Once we found a successful business model, of course, it is a perfect thing to go for because we have somehow validated, somehow proved it. How to prove, how to get the knowledge of our business product, of our business idea, how to validate it. I mean, so far we just said, okay, we turn our business model into a hypothesis, but that's not enough. Let's get some more instrument into our hands. The first question is there any problem or any task a potential customer want us to solve by our product? This question is more complex than it appears, because in terms of technical innovation, we may think of some functional solutions. Yeah, there may be an instrument and tool making us faster, more efficient, performing better. However, in particular, in the B2C market, there are also other dimensions, like an emotional dimension or social dimension. The emotional dimension is the well-known customer experience. If I get some emotional pleasure from a product, it's enough. It doesn't need to cover any functionality in the first instance. If a product gives me simply convenience, it's worth a lot. It again doesn't necessarily need to have a functional component. The third dimension I already mentioned was the social dimension. A luxury product tend to underline our status. So status feeling is a strong reason for a problem or for a product to be addressed. The same is valid for shared values. Many consumers want to buy products which underline their values and want to be in connection with companies. I want to buy services and products from companies where they share their values. The same goes for team experience. If I want to do some activity, not by my own, but in some sort of group of like-minded people, either it's offline or online, again, a great reason to address, which can be addressed by a product. Challenge is to design a B2B product because a B2B product does not necessarily need to come with a customer experience. If we have a tool which is going to be used on a construction site, it doesn't really need to be a great customer experience. It doesn't need to make happy the people. It just needs to perform the job. So designing, identifying the task of the customer which needs to be addressed in case of B2B, it is the success of your customer. So any product sold to a B2B customer is only acquired when it provides, when it helps your customer to be more successful. In this sense, here the understanding of the business model of your customer in B2B segment is crucial and very important in order to address the problem which has to be solved, right? The second level describes, or second question, after we identified a problem or a task, well, we need to answer is the question, does the customer wants us, is this problem important enough that the customer wants us to solve it for him? Maybe there is a problem, but it's not so urgent, not so important. The customer is happy with the status, how it is. In that case, we found a problem, but we have no market. The third question addressing this situation is, or rounding up the situation, is after we identified a problem, a task, and positively identified that we do have an interest to get a solution, is the question, is the customer also willing to pay for a solution? Because if not, if his opportunity costs of resolving it by himself are not high enough, then we still may have a problem, we may have a market, but we don't have any paying customers. Maybe that our solution to this problem is too expensive and we couldn't fit with the expectations, with the price expectations of our customer. So only by answering these three questions, we can continue and get one step further in our validation journey. Well, let's say we positively identified these three questions and continued and want to get more insight, want to understand the traction of our product. How can we proceed here? We have I think, known methods of qualitative and quantitative motivation analysis. The qualitatives are well known, is that we simply speak to other people about our ideas, we present it, and we get some feedbacks. We can, of course, also enter some interested groups and try to get their ideas. We can do some pool surveys, A/B testing, and also get here some insights. Very good source of insight, of feedback is mentoring, because a mentor typically doesn't have a stake in your company, has has some experience, level of experience, and can accompany you on the journey for several days, for several time period, for longer time period, for several sessions, and give you always a sort of unbiased feedback. However, all of these methods are qualitative. It's a bit of gut feeling, it's a bit of unquantified anecdotal knowledge, because it is strongly dependent on to whom we speak in our idea presentation or whom we have as a mentor. There are also quantitative methods. Of course, if we do enough surveys and polls, we cannot just get their anecdotal level of insight, but we can, of course, try to analyze them with means of statistics and get some data. The same goes also for data analytics of available statistical data all around the universe. There are tons of data and insights generally available. However, in my opinion, these two methods, which are, or two sets of methods which are sort of well known, have a special bias. They have the bias, the so-called intention-action gap. If I go to a friend and ask him, would you buy this service? Are you interested? Then maybe he will not tell me into the face that it's a nonsense. But even if I go to a strange person and discuss and present this with a person, there still is a difference between intention to buy and a real purchase. This is exactly the key of the intention-action gap. That's why simulated purchase validation would be even a smarter way of doing it. It, of course, involves more time or more resources, but it gives really strong insights and can back up the product development or the direction of a product development in a very fundamental way. What does it mean, simulated purchase validation? We're still in a stage that we have no product to sell, but we can, of course, set up a product pre-launch landing page for our product and try to engage people and see how they react. We can track the various parts on the homepage. We can also track some sort of conversions. I'm sure you had this experience already on Facebook. From here and there, I get some advertisement showing me some products, and when I go through the click chain, I end up at the end on some please give us your email address. We will let you know when the product is available and you can purchase it here. This is a much stronger validation than just asking me if I would eventually consider buying it. Another version is also a crowdfunding campaign. Crowdfunding campaign is not only for marketing reasons, for selling physical goods, but it's, of course, provides us also an important insight if this product is accepted or not. Of course, a crowd campaign comes with a lot of work and is connected with some money, but failing a crowdfunding campaign gives a really deep insight in fail fast direction, and we do not order all the products which we would not be able to sell afterwards. A very interesting approach is, in my opinion, very fascinating for me, is the strategy of micro business modeling. This means we have a rather general product which can be used for all kinds of services or all kinds of target groups. And we actually don't know what to do. So instead of finishing the product development and let's say it's a software program, coding it finally and then placing the program, let's say we have some digitalization tool for processes, it can digitalize every process. Yeah, sure, very nice, but there is no focus. Instead, we could identify target groups, reformulate a business model for each of these target groups, reformulate the value proposition for each of these target groups and test it. By testing them via pre-launch landing pages, for example, we will see how the conversion on each of these customer segments is, how is the interest, what are the features particularly interesting of interest for a customer segment, and then we can go and develop our business directly into the most promising direction. Also, this is connected with work and some resources, but still it is much more efficient to perform this for various customer segments and get the insight about failure for various of these customer segments in order not to lose time and money. Let's go to the second part, the product rollout. Well, it's the second step. So we identified our group, we identified our product, and now we try to sell our product. What is here to concentrate on? Well, we have here on top on the right side a number of activities which typically are awaiting our entrepreneur or even also our corporate. I try to summarize them in three sectors, in three segments. We still should focus and not forget the product enhancement, because just based on the first impression, on the pre-sounding, on the idea validation, we cannot live all our company life. So we should engage the feedback from the sales, we earn all the informations from the sales back to the product and undertake product enhancement. We should also be aware of the right pricing. We should not price on a cost plus basis, but of course try to understand our customer and try to understand how much is our product worth to the customer. How do we know it? We can go back to our question and think about what task we solve for the customer and try to evaluate the value of this task for the customer. And this is a good proxy for the pricing. At the end, we should be also understanding the metrics, the numbers of our company. And this is not only because I do like numbers, but it's also because I very often see that people try to neglect this part. So the understanding of the traction of the KPIs is, of course, crucial for the early stage growth. I summarized the typical shortcomings in these three sections in the following slides. So in the financial planning, well, it's very often neglected because well, people are not interested or don't have the expertise for doing it, and this leads to a flying blind. This means that we do not really have a control of the fundamentals of our company, how it functions, how it performs. Well, solution is not that difficult. If we don't like numbers, then, well, team up with someone who does. You can team up with, you can extend your team by some finance expert, or you can get some advisors on a time basis, as a service basis, and this works. One note, one warning, and tax advisor is of course very important for every company, but he or she is not a substitute for financial planning, and is definitely not a substitute for a digital KPI fast-growing business. In case that his or her tasks are something different. The product development, well, falling back in love with our product, we had it already. We still have to keep in mind that 100% customer centricity doesn't stop after the surveys and after the early stage. We still need to align our entire company around the customer. And if we do these 2 points, then of course the pricing will be much easier for us to undertake, because we typically, by doing wrong pricing, we actually, companies tend to sell too cheap. So we leave money on the table because it's not aligned with the customers and with their willingness to pay. So when we are customer-centric in our product understanding, and when we understand our own finances and KPI and traction, of course, then it's only a short step to go further to a value-based pricing for the customer. So coming shortly to an end, so that we have also time for the breakout rooms. In my opinion, there is only one focus for every venture, and it is independent if it's a startup or established company. It is and should be the customer. If you recall all the methods I was briefly introducing, they share one common idea. They are all customer-centric. There is nothing else here presented. As already mentioned, these principles are not valid for startups only, not for early stage ventures, not for young entrepreneurs. They are valid the same for experienced managers or large corporations introducing new products. New is new, and starting some new activity, some new product is always a challenge and should never be done in a blind flight. If we follow these principles, what awaits us? I mean, okay, I didn't mention one thing. We have a lot of work to do it, because to do surveys, to do micro business models, this takes time and some money. But on the long run, we fail faster and we lose less money and we lose less time. We also will not lose less money of investors. And if we can provide some proof or some insight about the traction, we are likely to get funded on the long run easier and faster, because there is some data to base on, and it's not the typical discussion between the startup and the investor, where the startup believes in his product and the investor said, well, I don't believe and I don't know how to prove it. Definitely, this strategy provides a better means for controlled growth, in particular having a deep understanding of the numbers, of KPIs and financial planning. That was my contribution to the topic. I would be very curious to hear your experiences, your critical comments. Maybe you disagree with me on some points, then I'm happy to hear it. Or of course, I will also not be in all the breakout rooms, so we can definitely You can also definitely exchange ideas between each other. I will not now stop sharing the screen. And we have the Mentimeter result back. So yeah, so focusing on marketing and products is the idea. The majority here voted for. I respectfully disagree. That was all my talk about, which is also fine. And now we have the perfect chance to enter the discussion and see what we can learn from each other.